Hello, my name is Cindy Lee. I'm a director, specifically of the Last Ranger film, which has just been shortlisted for live action short film at the 97 Oscars.
Yeah.
And I've been directing for about 13 years now, and before that I was a copywriter in advertising for 13 years. So basically, I think what's really, I feel very passionate about rhino poaching in South Africa. I try and go to game farms once or twice a year, game reserve, to go and see the rhino myself. And I believe, and it's a huge part of our culture, and it's a huge part of tourism, and it gives a lot of people jobs, whether they're in the Eastern Cape and they work around the game farms, or because that's where we shot this particular film, or wherever they are. And it's something that is inherently South African or African, and we must look after it. So there've been a lot of documentaries, but I've never seen a film that engages the audience so much. Because what happens with this film is you're not even aware that it's a film about rhino poaching. You think it's a story about a little girl and her father and this journey that she goes on and the relationship she has with the ranger. And then what happens, and then only at the end, when your heart is wide open and you're so emotional and you're so engaged with the film, then the statistics come and we put them at the end. One, how many poachers die, how many rhinos die a day. And then because your heart's so wide open and you're so engaged with the film, you're taking in that and you realize the impact that it has on the socioeconomic, on socioeconomics, on the people that are around us, on our country, and then it becomes much more personal, and then people can relate to it. That's so powerful as you see how passionate the rangers are, especially the woman ranger, all of them, but she's a woman ranger, and the female rangers, there are a lot of them now, and they will die to protect the rhino. They love them that much. It's like their family. It's like protecting your child or your sister or your mother. I think we never ever doubted that we were going to make an isiXhosa. And I knew that I was putting myself under a lot of pressure as well, because South Africa doesn't have the biggest pool of actors, and now I have to find them an isiXhosa, and I've got to find an 11-year-old child who can speak isiXhosa. So my pool just got a whole lot smaller. But for me, it is absolutely vital. As I said earlier, I think our actors are much better in their own languages, but also the response that I have had from people who go, thank you, you see me, you see the country I live in, you see where I come from, you speak to me. Mandela has a very famous quote. He says, if you speak to somebody in a language they understand, that speaks to their head. But if you speak to them in their own language, that speaks to their heart.
Oh, that's powerful. And is it true that the young lady, the 11-year-old girl, was it her first time acting?
First time.
And she killed it.
Yeah, she killed it. She was the hero of our film, because we saw so many auditions, and as I said, we don't have a big pool, especially kid actors in this country. And a lot of them were very affected, and they were acting and they were trying so hard. And this little self-tape came along with this child, and she did this scene where she just cried. And it was like she understood the words. She empathized with the character. And we were all like, when we saw this audition, it blew our minds. We were like, yes, we found it. We were so relieved. Very good question. For me, it depends on how we shoot, what the film is about. But I've done this twice before. The first, directed a television series called Desert Rose. And that was out in the middle of the desert. And that was a character. For me, that was a character. And we did exactly the same in the Eastern Cape, out in the middle of this game reserve. The landscape's a character. It's as important as casting a character. The problem is though, when you're getting, broadcasters, whoever they are, Mnet, Showmax, they're looking for certain kinds of films. And that is the problem. They will dictate to you what they want, which is why we need an independent film market. We need indie films. This was an indie film. We found our own money. We made this ourselves. Nobody told us the kind of film we had to make. And that's why we are shortlisted for an Oscar. Because we made our own story the way we wanted to, without a big broadcaster saying, this is what people are liking, this is what we're demanding, this is what the audience wants to watch. Let me tell my own story and let's see how the audience responds. In a way, South Africa's never had an industry. So we haven't had the opportunity to explore our own stories yet. We have to do that.
We have to do that.
The reason that we are shortlisted for an Oscar is because they've never seen this story before.
True.
I mean, there are 180 films that qualified, short films, and then 15 have been shortlisted, and then 5 will be nominated. But out of the 15 shortlisted, to have one in isiXhosa, because they've never seen this before. No, I mean, first of all, my brother wrote the film.
Yeah.
So the reason my brother wrote the film is that he went to school with the vet. So this is based loosely on a true story. So Tundi is the rhino in the film.
Yeah.
When the little girl looks in her video camera, the rhino that's in the video camera that's dehorned, that's dying, is Tundi, the actual rhino that was dehorned all those years ago.
Yes.
And then at the end of the film, the rhino that you see
That was the
without the
true
horn is Tundi.
Wow.
So the vet saved her life, and the vet went to school with my brother. And my brothers always used to go and hang out with him on the game farm and always stayed friends with him. And then one day David got to go on a trip with him and saw what they were doing to help the rhinos. And David said, what can I do to help? And he said, well, make me a film about what's going on.
Spread awareness.
And that's what we did.
And did they ever expect it to come out the way it came out?
No, but I must tell you, it was so extraordinary because on the day when we filmed this, they had to dart 2 rhinos anyway.
True.
One because they had to, I think, check if she was pregnant or something, and the other one because of the tracking device. So we didn't dart the rhinos for our film. We filmed them while they darted them.
Wow.
And we had 20 minutes to shoot those rhinos when they were down. And then they wake them up. That's all we had.
And did you
So
get all the shots?
we did, but you know that, gee whiz, I've never. So we had to track 2 rhino, dart 2 rhino, find them. When they fell down, we had to put them so they both looked like they were in the same place, because they weren't. And then they had to look like the same rhino on the screen, and they weren't. And the day that we did it, with the scene with the chainsaw, the vet was so emotional, he was there, that he was crying. He went behind the scenes and he was crying. Dr. William Folds, that's his name.
Yeah, it's personal to him.
Because he was there the day they found Tundi.
Yeah.
So now here you've got this rhino, she's awake, her lips are going, her ears are going, and we're starting a chainsaw.
Sure.
I must tell you, I don't know how we got those shots. We were all like, so sad. It was hectic.
Oh, I can...
A couple of stories up my sleeve. I have a film that I'm busy writing at the moment. But I think for me, what's really important is keeping it uniquely South African, and I'm always looking for stories that are female driven. I want stories about women, with women in the lead. I want to cast women, work with women. Just think particularly in the field of filmmaking, not just in South Africa, it's always been so male orientated. You know, men directing, men writing for men. I mean, even if there are not a lot of stories that are all about women. So that's my focus going forward.